Welcome to Powder Hour 2.0. This is a really exciting project that I've decided to do over the last couple weeks. I teach a conditioning class here in Conway, New Hampshire. I've been doing it for the last 6 falls, I think. And so many friends have asked who live out of town, I wish I could take the class. And then finally, my sister was the final straw, and she's like, just do it. She's like, people want it. So this is going to be the first video of many, and so today I'm going to probably talk a little bit longer so I can go over some important alignment and muscle activation focuses. So bear with me as I get a little teachy, but I think it'll pay off in the end to make sure you're doing everything correctly and safely. So to start out with each workout, you're going to do a warm-up. So really basic. You can jog in place just for a few steps. You can do some high knees, back to like soccer practice when you were, a kid. You can do butt kicks. So you can do heel kicks. So in the heels, you can hug a knee into the chest, get a nice stretch. I like to go wide and just get a nice groin stretch. And then if you put your heel out and swipe down, you're gonna get a nice hamstring and calf stretch. Sort of a nice dynamic warm-up just to get the ball rolling. So do that for a minute or two, whatever you feel like you need. And then you're gonna move into the true warm-up, kind of an AMRAP style exercise section. So I have a list of 4 exercises with a number corresponding with each one, and you're gonna roll through that list, hitting each number for a total of 5 minutes. So I usually just hit the clock on a 5-minute counter, and I just take my time going through those 4 exercises over and over. So the first exercise is an air squat, which is just as it sounds. You're squatting down, coming back up. You're gonna do 10 of those. When you squat down, make sure your femurs, your thighs, are in line with your toes, and they're not coming in or coming out. That's just, your knees won't appreciate that if you do that long enough. From the side view, you want to be hinging from your hip and sending your hips back. And when you stand back up, try and activate and consciously squeeze your glutes to get them to participate in that movement. We tend to not be very good at using our glutes because we sit all the time. So that's an air squat. 10 of those, nice and simple to get things warmed up. Next is a bridge. You're going to lie on your back, bend your knees, and here you're gonna start to try to find neutral spine when you're lying in this position. So you don't wanna flatten your back all the way down. That's a flexion of your spine. And then you don't wanna go too far up. You wanna find a nice middle ground. Tighten in your low belly, squeeze your bum, and lift your hips up into a bridge. And you're just gonna come up and down, trying to have your back and your body move as one piece. So you're gonna do 10 of those. Next is a lateral lunge. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna start standing, you're gonna step out to one side, and then try and send your hip back and over your heel. That way you're able to access your glutes, and then you're gonna push back up. You're gonna step the other direction, down, and power back up. If you step too far, you won't be able to get your hip out over your foot. So one caution there is don't overstride. So 10 lateral lunges, do 5 on each side. And then finally, fan favorite, some jumping jacks. Clearly, I think we all know how to do jumping jacks. So that's your AMRAP. Run through all of those for 5 minutes, and you'll get definitely warm, get that heart rate up, and ready to get going. So the rest of the workout is split into 3 different sections. So in each section, you'll run through each one 3 times. So for example, for the first one, we have side plank, mountain climbers, and a side step or side lying leg lift. And so you'll do each one for a minute, and you'll run through the list, and then you'll repeat that one section 3 times before moving on to the next section of exercises. Any of the planks or anything that has 2 different sides, I'll denote it if you want to try and do just 30 seconds on each side. So the first one is a side plank. I'm going to recommend you do this on your elbow. And make sure your elbows under your shoulder, stack your feet, and you're gonna lift your hips up in the air. Try to pretend that you're between two panes of glass. And the common error here is people will rotate forward. Try to stay open. Sometimes a hand up in the air helps with the alignment here. So you're gonna hold that for 30 seconds before switching to the other side. So next is a mountain climber. You're gonna go onto your hands and knees, bring your feet out almost into a plank, and then you're gonna start bringing each leg into your chest. Now, I want you to try to keep your core engaged and try and keep your hip height level. Often people will get like a bounce with their hips, but I want you to try to keep those hips level and pull the knees into the chest. This is challenging for a whole minute. So if you can't keep going for a whole minute, that's fine. You can either slow down or just maybe hold a plank for the rest of the minute. But that's definitely one that'll get your heart rate up. The final one for this round is a side stepping with a band. So if you have a band, you can put it around your ankles, and then you're just gonna do a side step, side to side, trying to keep your feet parallel. The leading foot is gonna want to turn out, but fight that and try and go side to side with your feet straight ahead. If you don't have a band, which many people don't, which is fine, you're gonna lie on your side and make sure you're truly on your side. With this one, people tend to roll back. You wanna stay straight on your side. You're gonna straighten out your top leg and you're gonna lift it up in the air and almost think about biasing, going up and back. The goal is to feel a muscle right here on the side of your hip working. And you'll know when you're getting it because doing this even for 30 seconds on each side will be challenging. It's a little muscle and it's gonna burn. The importance of working your lateral hip muscles is when you're standing, weight bearing, it keeps your femurs from collapsing in, which is an important movement when you're skiing. So working those lateral hips is important. All right, so for the second section for this workout, we have our first single leg exercise. I've found that single leg exercises are really important for skiing, and they allow you to improve your ability to drive through a turn. And once you start doing these, you'll realize actually how much work it takes to balance on one leg. You can use your core, you can use your, you're gonna feel a lot of work through your hip. So if you do have a balancing device, you can stand on that. If you don't worry about it. And then for this one, you have two options. The first one is you balance on one leg. Try and do it for 30 seconds. Try and keep your pelvis level, and here you are. To make it more challenging, you can grab a weight. I recommend up to 10 pounds or more, and then you're gonna try and shift the weight from hand to hand while you stay balanced. And you'll feel the weight obviously try to pull you one way or the other, and it adds an extra balance challenge. So you'll do this for 30 seconds on each side. All right, next is a Bulgarian lunge. These are one of my favorites. I think doing this exercise, you can really get awesome strengthening through both legs. You are using both legs, but it's a little bit of a single leg exercise, which allows your body to engage all of your muscle groups because they're all stabilizing. Whereas when you do things with two legs, your body doesn't have to do the balance portion and just sort of defaults to just your lateral quads, or doesn't get the whole muscle group. So all you need is a surface. This is maybe a little tall. You could do 6 inches, whatever you have, like a stool, a step, doesn't matter. You're gonna stand on one leg, and then you're gonna reach back and put your foot up on the chair. And all you're gonna do is you're gonna drop your back, You're gonna drop your back knee down and then come up. Try not to let your body come forward. And when you're coming back up, try to drive through that right hip, the hip of the leg that's forward. Here, it's another time you can watch where your knee alignment is. Try not to let that knee collapse in over your foot medially. You're gonna go up and down. Your option here is you can hold a weight in either hand. So if you wanna make it a little more challenging, a little more leg burn, you can hold a weight. And here I recommend it as well, doing 30 seconds per leg. But you're really gonna feel this one, and this one is a good bang for your buck. And then lastly for this round is dying bugs. So you're gonna get back down on your mat. And so here, we're gonna think about that neutral spine again. I'm gonna tighten in my lobe, my deep core, which is gonna cinch around my spine. So that's gonna stabilize everything. It's gonna hold my pelvis in place. I'm gonna lift my legs up to tabletop, arms straight up to the ceiling, and then I'm gonna drop opposite arm, opposite leg down to the ground, back up, down, up. So my goal is keeping my ribs and my pelvis locked in. This is my starting position, and basically the weight of my arm and leg is trying to disrupt the stability. So that's the challenge. And it might look like a bicycle, pretty similar, and I challenge you just to do it with good control versus trying to rip through it for speed. If you do that for a minute, you should feel good work through the core. And this is a really nice exercise to take a minute to feel neutral spine and work on that position. So that is your second set of exercises for this first workout. Moving on to the last section before our tuck series. Your first one is going to be a lateral shuffle with jump. So I'll show you what that is. You're going to find maybe a hallway. Recommend shuffling maybe 10 feet each direction if you have that kind of space. But you're just going to be doing a lateral shuffle. And then when you get to your turnaround spot, you're going to do a jump. And you're going to shuffle. And you're going to jump. Jump. So you're going to do that for a minute. If you have a bigger space, you can really get moving a little bit quicker, but your goal is to keep everything pretty solid and just move your legs underneath you without a lot of extra upper body motion. So you're going to do that for a minute. Next, you're just going to move into a front plank. Today we're going to go with a straight up plank on elbows. We're not going to add any extras to it. So you're going to come down on your knees, on your elbows, and into a plank. So it should look something like this. When I'm planking, I'm thinking a lot about engaging my core, getting a connection of muscle energy from my pubic to my sternum so that I'm not getting a collapse. I'm trying to pull those areas together to keep that strong. I find if I squeeze my quads while I'm doing a plank, it helps boost me up. So I'm doing a really active plank. If you're planking and using all your muscles you have available, it's not going to be that hard. People hate planks because I think they just sort of suffer through them. So it's a pretty good one. I'm a big fan of planking. And so finally, we're just going to end with a minute of air squats. So you can do a standard air squat. If you want, you can add in a jump. So that's going to look like this. Try and do that for a minute, and you'll really start to feel a nice leg burn. Those are your 3 rounds of exercises for this workout. I recommend going through it and seeing how you feel. If you feel like a whole minute is too hard, don't feel like you have to push further than you should. Everyone's working within their own ability, and I really want to emphasize quality over quantity. And maybe you do 2 rounds of everything today, and if you were to try this workout again down the road, you'll be able to do 3. And so we're going to finish with our tuck series. So you'll notice at the end of each workout, we'll do a tuck. And we'll usually have them go for a minute, and during that minute, you'll do a variety of different things. So today, it's broken up into 15-second sections. So when it says hold, you're just holding your tuck. And then when it says up, down, you're just going to basically be going up and down, but I want you to do it really slowly. So maybe a count of 3 or 4 on the way up, 3 or 4 on the way down. And so it goes back and forth between hold, up downs, hold, up downs. If you do that twice for a minute, you'll definitely be feeling that great quad burn that we come to love so much. And really the goal is if you do it now, then when you hit the slopes, it won't hurt quite as much and you'll be more prepared. Although if you live in Montana, we're a little late because it sounds like they're skiing some like mid-season conditions, which is pretty awesome. So anyway, workout 1. If you have any questions, let me know and I can explain everything further. Thanks.